I know there's been a question asked about property. Is there any assets here in Canada? Do those sanctions have?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I am not with FBI. I am not with KGB. You know, I am not looking for other people's assets. I don't have assets here. I don't take bribes, so I don't have to be afraid of anything. I am probably better prepared for a new period of tension than many people you happen to know. But I don't think that names that were bandied in press mentioned that these people really have some outstanding, you know, assets or will die from grief because they won't get visas to visit the United States or Canada. So I think it's mostly now a show of certain, you know, position with which we don't agree. It may hurt some, you know, personal chemistries, which is no small thing. You know that it's not automations, but people who make history and make politics and diplomatic relations. So it will be, of course, reciprocated. Some people won't receive visas to Russia. Personally, I lived through such sanctions before. They never led to anything. They just postponed inevitable diplomatic and political solution. And political solution is the only, diplomatic solution is the only, you know, reasonable, sane alternative to the tension that we are witnessing right now.
Mr. Mamedov, you spoke earlier about the long history between Russia and Crimea. President Putin has spoken about that history and used it as a reason for Crimea to join Russia. Are there other regions in Ukraine or in that region that you think have that kind of a history where it would make sense from Russia's point of view for them to join Russia?
Well, it's certainly not for me to play, you know, irresponsible empire builder. Read what Putin said today. He appealed directly to Ukrainian people, not to listen to all these scary stories about Russian tanks moving to Kharkiv or Donbass or anything else. But there is a problem. There is a problem that we have radical elements in the new regime in Kiev. Probably it's natural. If you say it's a revolution, I remember Bolsheviks and, you know, the Red Terror after revolution in Russia. So probably it's natural to have radicals for a certain period of time. But it's dangerous because Ukraine has a large Russian-speaking population. And when their first move was to ban Russian language, it sent the wrong message. I know that Canadian government, other governments are working now with Kiev, trying to convince them to reverse it, to respect the rights of other ethnic groups in Ukraine. This is exactly what we have in our plan that we suggested to Americans. So I'm very hopeful that we will find commonality in our approach and your approach, and we are prepared together with United States, European Union, Canada, if you join these negotiations, and not remain, I mean, utterly skeptical of all diplomatic solutions that are being offered right now. We're prepared to guarantee this, Basically, what we prepare is to return to this agreement that was imposed by European Union on Yanukovych. Yanukovych, everybody, you know, is in my face telling about Ukrainian constitution. According to Ukrainian constitution, there is still only one legitimate president of Ukraine, Yanukovych. There are three ways that he could have disappeared from the scene. One, letter of resignation. He said he is not going to do this. Second, impeachment. But you have to have constitutional court to impeach him. And the first move of this guys in Kiev was to disband constitutional court and to fire the judges who were not to their liking. So impeachment is out of question currently. And the third unfortunate option is if he died. And you know he was shot on, his main aide was shot on the porch of his own house when he was, naive enough to return to Kiev because he believed he would be given some leniency. So if you are stickler about Ukrainian constitution, you must accept the fact that until new elections are organized in Ukraine, there is only one legitimate authority, Yanukovych. I am not saying that he has any, clout right now. I'm just trying to respond to those who keep, beating me over the head with the notion of what's constitutional and what's not.
So just returning
Yes.
to the referendum, certainly here in Canada we're used to referendum campaigns in the past few decades.
I didn't want to mention it because it would be provocative.
And those often took months, if not years. So in contrast, why should Canadians look upon the vote in Crimea as legitimate when it happened so fast and with that military situation on the ground?
Okay. May I answer a question? My mother was Jewish, so the tradition is to answer a question with question. You asked me why you Canadians should accept this referendum because of the military situation and so on and so forth. My question is, why did you accept the referendum in Kosovo after you bombed Belgrade for several months? We never bombed Kiev. And if you go to Crimea right now, there's a jubilation there. You will find it out for yourself, because people almost, unanimously want to return to Russia. So I think you have any reason to accept the results of Crimean referendum if it was so easy for you to accept the results of Kosovo referendum, which was the result of aggression against Serbia. And traditionally, unlike Crimea, Kosovo was a part of Serbia. It's a historic place when Serbs fought Ottoman Turks. So you have every reason to accept the results of Crimean after you accepted uncritical results of Kosovo referendum.
Ambassador, the Ukrainian Prime Minister has been quoted today as saying the conflict in Crimea has moved from the political stage to the military stage. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I am not working for Prime Minister's office. I don't know what he meant.
The Ukrainian Prime Minister.
Ukrainian Prime Minister. Ukrainian Prime Minister, well, he is a young man, the way he was promoted. You remember this, telephone conversations between my good friend, Assistant Secretary of State Nuland, and American ambassador in Kiev, and they had a quarrel because some people wanted this boxer to become a prime minister, and my friend Tori Nuland said no. We can only have Yatsenyuk. So you better ask Washington, not Yatsenyuk.
Mr. Ambassador, I would like to ask you a question. How do you think Russia could help Canada to become more independent from the United States and establish its unique, compromising, and diplomatic approach on the grounds of foreign affairs? Thank you.
Well, I think you are pretty independent of United States. During my 11 years here, out of nostalgic reasons, I sometimes travel to Washington and I have friends both working for the administration, for the Republican opposition there, and we had some very frank discussions because I know some of them for 15 years, 20 years, and I never had a feeling that they consider Canada as being, you know, somebody who should follow their lead or anything. And here I believe during election campaign you will sometimes see politicians even resort to some anti-Americanism to get votes. So I think Canada is very independent, and I noted with satisfaction when you know, had these festivities to mark the anniversary of the War of Independence against United States. The only thing is, from historical standpoint, when you talk to Americans, they believe they won this war. When you talk to Canadians, they thought they won it. So you have to sort it out. Anyway, I believe you're a very independent country, and your relationship with the United States is very important and mutually beneficial. I'm speaking both from my American experience and from current Canadian experience. Thank you, everybody. And again, come in the same great numbers next time. Take care.
Over there.
I am afraid this poor guy will never forgive me, because I give him unnecessary publicity.
So how do we know that's from Toronto? How do I know that's from Toronto? Well, just stand up there, keep it by the microphone so we can see.
In Russian it says, you know, this is the ugly face of Russian Consul General in Toronto.
Can you show it to the camera?
Can you get back over there?
And you better smash it in.
And who did that, do you know? Who wrote that?
I don't know. Some friends of Russia, I believe. I am joking.
And have there been any...
Retain your sense of humor, please. If I can, you can as well.
Sorry, and how do I know that's actually from Toronto?
Radicals did it.
How do I know that's from Toronto? You say that's from Toronto? How do I know that?
Well, I don't know how you can know from Toronto. I just received it. This guy sent it to me. You see, I even sent it to, you know, to Moscow, so that they know that there is a real threat.
So, Mr. Ambassador, aside from this gentleman's face being put up,
yes,
and the knifing of the Russian diplomat, have there been other incidences where Russian diplomats have been threatened?
Well, thanks God I don't know any, because I immediately remonstrate with your foreign affairs, and they have this thick stack of my notes there. If you count them, probably it's 30 or 35, so every time something unseemly happens or dangerous happens, they receive my note, and they keep calling me back, saying that they're taking care of everything. I should rest assured that nothing will happen to us.
So what are
I have to take it on faith.
What are some of these dangerous events?
Can you put it in front of the mic, sir?
What are these
Dangerous events?
that you're reporting?
Well,
to the
every time you have a violent demonstration, it's dangerous, because some people will try to throw Molotov cocktails. So far, my friends for RCMP are keeping them at bay. But who knows what may happen?
But there's been no violence so far in the demonstrations?
There were attempts to cross the border of our Consul General in Montreal, and to, you know, to try and harass people inside.